Hey Dr. Brindle, this is Cassidy Bolin, and this is my sensory motor integration video. So first we're going to start by pursing the lips and making circular motions around clockwise and counterclockwise to make the pursing motion of his mouth. Can you purse your lips? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add strokes inward so I can increase the shape. So first I'm going to start clockwise around his lips, or the orbicularis oris muscle. His mouth should form an oval, and then I'll reverse the direction and the oval shape will reappear. So his lips should kind of purse. Okay, now I'm gonna reverse it. Can you purse your lips? Okay, good. Now I'm gonna stroke inward to increase the shape. Okay, good. Next, I'm going to ask you to produce the sounds sa, ta, bo, su, tu, and boo. Sorry, su, tu, and boo.
Su, tu, and boo.
With that activity, we established the functional motor patterns. If someone had weakness, this would help to stimulate the movement for this motor pattern. So next, we're going to use another frozen swab, and we are going to work on retracting the lips. I'm going to stroke across your lips 3 times, from the stronger to the weaker side usually, but where you are, you don't have a stronger or a weaker side. They're pretty similar. I'm just going to pick from the left to the right, and then I'm going to repeat inward circular movements. So you can move the camera up there. Okay, so 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I saw the corners of your lips retract there. I'm going to repeat that. 2, 3. Okay, good job. Now I'm going to do the inward motions. Okay, and his mouth is staying retracted. Okay, good. Now I'm going to ask you to smile. Can you smile? We can move the camera this way. Can you smile? Okay, good. Your retraction's great. And then for the other functional activity, we're going to have you say and Good job. I saw the retraction with both of those movements. Next, I'll show what I would do if there was unilateral weakness. So I'm going to glide the swab from the lips in a clockwise direction. I'm going to use short strokes away from the affected side. So in this case, we're going to pretend that his left side is the affected, so I'll make strokes away from the affected side. So I'm going to start by moving the frozen swab around the lips clockwise. Okay, then I'm going to make short strokes away from the affected side. Okay, good. You can pause. Next, we are going to work on increasing the palatal reflex by triggering it with a frozen swab. So I'm going to glide the frozen swab horizontally across the soft palate from the weaker side to the stronger side. Which with Brett, again, he doesn't have a weaker versus stronger side, so I'm just going to pick one while we do it for the example. The stimulation time for this is 1 to 3 seconds. So for this one, we're going to open your mouth, and we're going to turn the camera this way, just straight on. Okay. And then I'm going to get my flashlight. So I'm going to get the flashlight to work. I'm going to take it across your palate, from the weaker to the stronger side. Did you feel like any stimulation, or were you more conscious of the roof of your mouth after that?
I felt stimulation.
Yeah. Okay. I noticed whenever I did this, look at me a little bit, I could see your palate reflex triggered. I saw it moving up. Again, we're going to increase the palatal reflex trigger I'm going to move anterior to posterior from the nasal spine. I'm going to stimulate the weaker side, stronger side, then the center. The stimulation time is about 1 to 2 seconds, so you should feel it 1 to 2 seconds. So, can you stick your tongue out for me? Good job. Stick your tongue out. Okay. Weaker side, stronger side, and middle. And I saw your uvula go up. I saw a lot of palatal movement on that. So that's great. So whenever I swabbed the left, right, and then up the middle of the back of your throat, did you feel any stimulation or did you feel any movement that feels out of the ordinary to you?
No.
Yeah, but that's good because you don't have any abnormalities with that. So next I'm going to increase the tongue base retraction. So to do this, I'm going to glide the frozen swab across his bitter taste buds, which are in the back, from the weaker to the stronger side. And then I'm going to apply firm pressure, and we're going to do this for about 1 to 3 seconds. So let's zoom in on the... So if you can stick your tongue out, I'm going to take this across the back. Let me get my flashlight for you. I'm going to take this across the back. And I'm going to place my hand. Now I'm going to place my hand under here, right where your chin meets your neck, so I can feel your tongue base movement. Good. I could feel your tongue base retraction as I was swabbing the back of your taste buds, the back taste buds. Next, I'm going to place my hand back in the same place so I can feel the palatal movement and the tongue base retraction. So I'm going to glide the swab from your nasal spine down to the tip of the uvula. So I'm going to monitor the secondary tongue base retraction with that. So it'll take about 1 to 2 seconds for the stimulation to hit. So if you can zoom in. Next, I'm going to place my hand again at the where your chin meets your neck. I'm going to swab from about the middle, I would say the middle of your hard palate down to the uvula. So basically the nasal spine down to the tip of the uvula. I'm going to monitor your secondary tongue base retraction. So you should feel I should feel the tongue base retract with palatal lift as well. So will you hold this? Okay. Now turn your head to me a little bit so I can see. Tongue out. Okay, good. Everything felt great. Next, I'm going to stimulate his lingual curling response. So I'm going to glide the frozen swab from the back to the front down the middle of your tongue, or the midline. So I'm going to depress your tongue base with the dental mirror, and the stimulation time for this is about 1 to 2 seconds. So okay, look at me please so I can, thank you. Good, and I can see the edges of your tongue, they're raising to make the cupping shape. Good. Good. That's good for whenever you are masticating and you need to form the bolus. It rests in the trough of your tongue, and it kind of forms a ramp eventually to pass the food on out of your oral cavity. So his troughing motion is great. The next motion that we'll be doing is stimulation to reduce the elevation in the posterior tongue. So with this, I'll use light, even strokes using the frozen stimulus on the swab with light touch. I'll use repetitive strokes on both sides toward the center. The stimulation time for this is 2 to 3 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to 1, 2. Good. Let's start again. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. Great. That was good. Next, I'm going to work to elongate and elevate the tongue tip. So I'm going to glide along the lateral edge of the tongue in the posterior to anterior direction. So from the back to the front, using quick, even strokes. The stimulation time for this is 2 to 3 seconds. Next, I'm going to work to elongate and elevate the tongue tip. So I'm going to make strokes on both sides. Good. I'm going to do it again. Good. This next movement will be to help elevate the tongue tip. So I'm going to stroke here with long strokes and then quick short strokes here. So we're going to redo that. Good. I can see tongue movement. Okay. So with the next motion that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to stroke on the right side, on the left, up the middle, and you'll see his tongue tip elevating while I'm doing this motion. Good. Brett doesn't have any lingual deviation, but if he were to have any, there is stimulation that we can use to help with that. So if this were the case, I would use short, rapid strokes on the weaker side, and then stronger, and then the stronger side, and then lastly the edges of the tongue. So I would have him hold the tongue tip up, or I could help him hold the tongue tip up, and I would stroke diagonally across the blade of the tongue away from the side of deviation. Okay, so let me get my dental here. I'm gonna stabilize the tongue tip with this instead of gauze because this is all I have at the moment. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the weaker side. I'm gonna do short, quick movements down. The stronger side. And then I'm going to deviate the blade of the tongue away from the deviation. So away from the deviation. And then if needed, you can also stimulate the tongue tip as well. And this all just helps to reduce lingual deviation on protrusion. So all of those activities are ways to stimulate the oral cavity. My client or my volunteer did not have any deviations, so it was just giving examples of the exercises and how they should be done. The sensory motor integration therapy in general refers to the organization of sensory input for use, enabling the body's perceptual and motor systems to work together. So this is also a type of treatment that emphasizes the select provision of stimuli to the physical senses in order to elicit a specific motor response. So that's why at the beginning, whenever we would stimulate the orbicularis oris muscle, we would, after the muscle was stimulated, we would have them produce phonemes so their brain could help to remember those motor patterns after the motor pathways were stimulated themselves. So overall, my client was very well and he had no deviations.